This is the Vet Alumni Podcast with Tek Prem.
It's the Vet Alumni Podcast. I'm Tek, he's Prem, and man, with Embiid out, with a torn meniscus.
Horrible.
The Sixers punted on the season at the trade deadline yesterday. They traded Marcus Morris and Korkmaz and 3 second-round picks to the Pacers for Buddy Hield.
Good basketball player.
Yeah, he averages a whopping 12 points per game.
Right.
But then they traded Daniel House and another second-round pick to the Pistons, basically just for cap space.
Yeah.
And then the worst trade of the day, Pat Bev to the Bucks. Morey did him a favor. He knows he's going to be competing for a title now. To the Bucks for Cameron Payne and a second-round pick. And Cameron Payne, they average the same amount of points. Cameron Payne's younger, but his field goal percentage is a couple points higher than Pat Bev.
It's a simple trade-off.
Pat Bev averages more assists per game. He averages more rebounds per game. So and plus, you traded your culture guy. You traded your chemistry guy. The guy that's on the bench, bringing more than just his play on the court.
Right.
He's bringing a vibe,
and
it brings that whole bench unit together. And you just got rid of that.
Yeah, I think the Sixers, unfortunately, where I'm at with it now, Tek, is that this offseason I'd be completely fine with them getting as much as they possibly could for Joe before it's too late.
It's
going to be too late in a season. It's going to be too late in one season.
I wouldn't do it only because
that's where I'm at, man.
The level he played at before he got injured.
I get it. I mean, it's fun to see him score 70 points, of course, but how often is that going to happen? And is he ever going to get to a conference finals? I don't think he ever plays in the conference finals his whole career.
Well,
I don't think he does, Tek. I'm saying it now. We'll come back to it in 7 years, too.
Yeah.
When he hasn't played in the conference finals.
It might not take that long to come back to it, by the way.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Then they went ahead and they traded Jaden Springer, who I am not sad to see go. A lot of people are.
Young player. He's an average young player.
He's a really good defensive player. But, if that mattered in this era of the NBA, then Thibault would still be here. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter. You need to be a scorer. The kid can't score. He's had some good moments here and there. He hasn't been able to put it all together. He's not a consistent player. I'm out on Jaden Springer. He was traded to Boston, and that's a little nerve-wracking because why did Boston want him?
Well, Boston's going to take a flyer on a young kid.
Yeah.
They got nothing to lose by doing it.
Well, we got a second-round pick in return for him. So, basically, you traded away 5 players. You got 2 back. You traded 4 second-round picks, and you got 2 back. So, that leaves 3 open roster spots. So, they should be active in the buyout market today, tomorrow, over the weekend.
Safe to say, though, that this team has a very legitimate shot of being forced to play in the play-in games.
Yeah, people are talking about, Embiid comes back for the playoffs. Like, what playoffs? You can't assume.
You might not even make the playoffs.
No.
They're 4-13 without Joe. And the way it looked against the Warriors the other night,
oh my God,
I think
non-competitive.
When you're playing the Warriors and Steph Curry hits 1 3-pointer, I would say to you, oh, you probably win that game.
Yeah.
No, you're down by 20 plus points, and Steph Curry has only hit 1 3.
Right.
When I looked at that box score, because I wasn't watching the game, I was following
Springer
along.
did lock him up, by the way, defensively. He had a really good game defensively against Curry.
Well, that's probably why you answered your own question. It's probably why Boston maybe want to take a flyer. Recency bias. Recency bias. And we know very well from Eagles season about recency bias.
Oh, my God. So just to give you an idea of what's available in the buyout market, I don't have the full list in front of me, but I'm going to give you the best available, okay?
It's not going to be great.
Kyle Lowry is right at the top of this list.
Is he 42?
He's fat and washed. I don't want
Kyle Lowry. He was a conversation 4 seasons ago.
So, and by the way, so was Buddy Hield 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Every year for the last 3 years, Buddy Hield's been in the trade deadline who they should target conversation.
He's still young though.
Yeah,
was he 28? Buddy Hield.
Yeah, I think he's 30.
Is he 30?
Yeah, but it doesn't, listen, I like Buddy Hield, and he'll be asked to play a bigger role here.
He will.
Alongside Maxey to try to keep keep their head above water, if they can do something miraculous. We'll
I don't
see.
know. I haven't looked at the remainder of the schedule in depth.
It's tough. They could lose, honestly. They could lose 16 of their next 20 games.
Yeah, at that point, honestly, how I feel about the team, like I said at the top of the show, Tech, I think that it's time. Think of a different name for it if you want. It's time for a process sequel.
Well, look.
And it starts by unloading the cornerstone of the first process.
I get it. But
I'm just done. I'm out. I'm done. You know why? Because we were back in a couple weeks ago. We were excited. All right?
Yeah.
And how quickly did we have our balloons deflated?
No, I know.
It's crazy.
We had Francisco
We
on,
were here 2
talking,
weeks ago. Excited.
Yeah, excited.
Ready to rock.
Yeah.
I'm all in on the conference finals at that point.
We were off for a week. We
Crazy.
come back, and it is chaos.
I come
with the
back,
Sixers.
off for a week because our listeners probably don't know. I had a little oral surgery, Tech.
Yes.
Got a couple bad teeth taken out.
Yeah.
No one can see them. It doesn't matter.
I've been there. I have been there.
Not fun. But I'm good.
Not fun.
I'm alive. I don't have these bad molars anymore.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
Beautiful. You wake up painless.
Absolutely. That's right.
We were excited when we talking to Francisco, and Embiid had just come off that 70-point performance, and we were on cloud nine.
Yeah.
And then the next day.
Crazy.
He's held out on the Denver game. Nationally, it's a big conversation. No, he doesn't want to play in Denver. He never plays in Denver. Well, it turns out he was legitimately hurt, okay?
Yeah, right.
And then he forces his way back because he's being insulted by everyone nationally. He forces to come back, and he's hobbling the whole game. He couldn't even jump, really. So he was hobbled before he took the fall,
He was.
and that the bum landed on him.
Yeah.
This
was probably a small tear already.
It was already something going on.
There was already something going on there because, look, I was listening to, I think it was Gilio earlier this week, and he was...
I love Joe, but he got great assault sometimes.
Yeah,
things he says.
I know. He's a bit extreme. We love Joe. We'll have him back on soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
But he was breaking it down. He's like, look, this guy's 7 feet tall, and he's heavier than he used to be.
Yeah.
As you get older...
and the
it's a
human body, it's not
Hey.
really meant right. It's not meant to be worked like that.
No, it's not.
Meant to
It's
move like that.
not. It's Joe. I honestly feel this way too, Tech. If Joel Embiid's ever going to be successful as an NBA star, he's never going to play more than 60 games in a season to stay on the floor.
Listen, I'm not saying you're wrong. At this point, that's what it is.
And I'm Mr. Positive all the time.
Right.
When it comes to the Sixers, I have completely turned the page.
And they don't have anybody to replace them. So going back to the buyout market, the couple guys that are available, Robin Lopez, David Bertrands, these are the guys. These are like the best available big men
Robin
out there.
Lopez isn't a bad player.
He's not terrible.
He's not a bad player.
I mean, he might actually give you a little more from the veteran side of things than Paul Reed will.
He's good for a double-double. I mean, you'll get a double-double out
Maybe,
of Lopez.
maybe if you're talking like 10 points, 11 rebounds.
Pretty
something
much,
like that.
that's where I'm going.
Yeah,
That's
he
where I'm going with
might listen on a good night. The Sixers, when you see Robin Lopez do 10 points on like another team, he comes to Sixers and gives you 4 points. I mean, it's just the way. It's something about the Sixers and the way they use veteran guys.
The only guy that from the buyout market that worked was that guy's name, Gianelli.
Listen,
the shooter, the Italian shooter.
Right.
He worked out.
And the only guy that's on the market right now that I'd actually be legitimately interested in is Spencer Dinwiddie. He's the only guy that I'd be interested in.
Dinwiddie's a scrappy player.
Now,
he gave us fits when he was on the Nets, and they were good. He gave us fits.
The problem with Spencer Dinwiddie is there's 7 or 8 other teams that are going to be all in on him.
Of course,
the
because
the Lakers made no moves. They're
punting. What are they, 10 seed right now?
Yeah, LeBron James has been playing uninspired ball because they're not giving him anybody, and they made no moves for him. So they might go heavy on Spencer Dinwiddie, and that's fine. But the Sixers should be in on that guy. All right, look, I look at it like, I know you're out on Embiid, but I say this, right? Embiid, I would just sit him until next year because
I agree with you.
Here's what you got.
You're not winning a ring.
No, and here's what you got. You got a ton of money. They might be the second richest cap team in the league. They have tons and tons of cap because the only players under contract going into
I
this
know, it's
offseason
crazy.
are Embiid and Paul Reed. That's it.
That's wild.
You're
man.
gonna have to extend Maxey. You're gonna super max him.
He's the guy.
But you will have. By the way, because people are like, well, you got some first-round picks, but, all these second-round picks, what good are second-round picks? Let me tell you something about first-round picks and the way it works in the NBA. First-round picks are rare trade chips, okay? They're used for guys like DeRozan or Levine.
They're used for the big names.
And those names
Lillard.
rarely get moved because teams don't want to give up 3 ones for DeJounte Murray. They don't want to do it. So ones don't get moved. You know what got moved all day? Second rounders.
Yeah, because
they got moved all day. They're tradable assets.
You might be able to snag a Klay Thompson in the second round because he was a second round pick, I believe.
Right. And Klay Thompson will be a free agent.
It's an example. But
and by the way, this free agent class is going to be thin. It's a weak class. It's topped by like Klay Thompson. And you know who else? Once you get past Klay Thompson, who's a top free agent?
Who you got?
Tobias Harris.
Well, yeah, I know.
That's
I don't
how
want him
weak
back.
this free agent class is.
Right.
Tobias Harris is going to be considered one of the top free agents on the market.
Well, he just seems to be so lucky. He gets a max deal here, and now he's going to be on a
He'll
weak free agency
probably get
class.
a max deal somewhere else or close to it.
I'll tell you what, though, Tech, the 22 and 29 Atlanta Hawks are coming in as 5-point favorites tonight at the center.
Yeah, listen.
You know what? They should be.
Yeah, I mean,
they should be.
They're coming in with Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, guys that weren't traded. DeJounte Murray was heavily talked about from everyone from the Sixers to Utah to New Orleans to the Lakers. There were so many teams that were supposed to be in on him, and he didn't get moved. DeRozan had a bunch of teams, including the Sixers. The price tag was too high.
Yeah.
You don't want to give up too much for a guy that's going to leave you in the offseason.
No, you try to get a rental that has an extra year on it in some cases.
And you're not going to get that. Like, Buddy Hield is a rental. He'll be a free agent this offseason.
Right.
So the move for Morey, and I get it, was, look, I've assembled all these second-round picks. We still have a bunch of ones. We can sign a top-flight free agent, whether it's Klay Thompson or one of the guys that's in the free agent class. We can extend Tyrese Maxey to Supermax. We can then have tradable assets in the offseason to get whatever player may become available.
They have to do a lot of work, and I'll say this too, is that their last 4 losses, every single loss is by
it's
10 plus
brutal,
points.
brutal. You can't even count it because
10 plus
a
points.
few of these games they had like 1 or 2 starters on the court.
Horrible, man. I mean, the Hawks are the third leading scoring offense in basketball.
Melton has missed 15 of the last 16 games. So you're looking at a bunch of lineups that are just absurd, and that's what they're dealing with. And now they might have a little more continuity because they're going to have Maxey and Hield, And listen, whoever they get on the buyout market is going to be significant. They're going to play a significant role.
Well, they have no choice.
Yeah, I expect it to be a Bertrand's or a Lopez, one of those guys. You need
wild,
a big man,
bro. Like, we're about to have, midway through a basketball season, when we had really high expectations just a fortnight ago, right? We're about to have a situation where we have a completely new basketball team.
Yeah.
With 30-plus games to go.
And Morey punted because, and by the way, it could be an unpunt if, by some miracle, they keep themselves in the top 6.
Right.
If they actually,
not happening.
If they actually manage to do that, and in 2 months' time, Embiid could come back.
Well, right now, I mean, they're really only let's see.
What are they, the 5th seed now? I mean,
they're actually 7 games from being in the play-in. I mean, they're up 7 games
all
on
right,
the 9.
well, yeah, but you know how quickly that could just disappear.
7 games, about a week.
Yes, but I'm telling you,
about a week.
In the next 3-4 weeks, they will be. And probably in the next 2 weeks, but I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say in the next 3 weeks, they will be a below 500 team. They will be fighting for that 8 seed.
They will. Bro, the Pistons are 7-43.
Right.
That's why they wanted Daniel House.
Right.
They got to turn it around.
The Knicks got better, though. The Knicks took 2 of the good players off Detroit.
The Knicks did get better. The Knicks, I've been looking at them probably the last 2 seasons as a team that kind of felt like they were on the rise in the East.
Yeah, and Jalen Brunson puts them over the top. He does become a star.
I mean, they're 9-1 in the last 10 games, bro.
Yeah, they're a great team. And
cruising.
Cleveland's a good team, too. So you're dealing with teams that are actually good, that are better than you. The Knicks are better than the Sixers right now.
Celtics running away with the East. Running away with the East. What is up with the Bucks, though, man?
You're not – well, look, Doc Rivers, that's why. I mean, look, That's the problem. You fired a guy who had you in second place.
Makes no sense to me.
It makes no sense.
I really don't understand. You know what it comes down to sometimes, and this is just the truth no matter what industry you're in. Doc might have just had some really close friends up there in that front office for one reason or another.
Yeah, and plus...
From his years in the league, who knows if he used to, mentor somebody and now they have a role of power. Well, this is how these things work because it doesn't make any sense.
Supposedly it was a Lillard idea because Lillard, there was a toxic thing going on between that other head coach and Lillard. Lillard didn't understand his role, and there were some things going on, and he went to the front office and said, bring in Doc. Yeah. Give me somebody that is a winning coach. And that's, listen... I just look at the Bucks like they'll be okay. They'll be okay.
I mean, they got studs.
They do.
Up and down the court.
The Sixers, they're in trouble. And here's another thing.
The window was the year that the triple doink happened.
Right.
That was the window for them.
But
and then even the year after that, they missed their window with this group.
But here's the one glimmer of the Sixers for next year. I know no one wants to hear next year. I don't.
Gonna see
the world could end tomorrow. There might not be another year.
The world could end tomorrow.
So, but I will say that when you look forward, the glimmer of light for next season is the fact that they'll be able to supermax Maxey. They'll be super Maxey. They'll be able to get a high price free agent, and they will have tradable assets to bring in a potential superstar.
Well, you know what the problem is? The guy running the show is the problem. I just don't believe in Morey to get it done.
But they'll have so much money left over that they can get. There'll be a lot of the Kelly Oubres of the world around to build role player guys,
That's true.
And you can build a good bench. Have Tyrese Maxey. A healthy Embiid back with a superstar that you got from your tradable assets.
All right, you're turning my mind a little bit.
I'm trying to tell you is that it's a glimmer. There's a glimmer of hope because of the cap money they have, because of the tradable assets they have, and there is hope for next year. I don't want to hear about next year, but I'm just
we know that they're not winning anything this year,
right? But that's the tough thing, right? At least
we know that
for us as fans and for the show. For the next, 6 weeks, this is tough.
We're pivoting to baseball quick.
Well, we're going to pivot to the Phillies and spring training.
I cannot
quickly
wait for baseball.
But the problem is, before Grapefruit League begins, we are stuck in watching nonsense, in watching, process like basketball.
It's horrible.
Unless Buddy Hield and Maxey have some kind of chemistry.
You know what? You never know what could happen. I mean, sometimes.
And maybe they get a buyout player that plays a significant role, and you still got Oubre and Batum, and Melton's going to come back. You still got guys, maybe.
All right, I'll give you a prediction.
Okay.
They're going to go in as the 7.
You think so?
Yeah.
So you do think they could make the playoffs?
Everything you're breaking down, I mean, I could see Maxey and Hield actually being very complimentary to each other.
They could be.
I could see that.
But
they don't shoot threes. They're 28th in basketball.
Well, it's a 3-point
league. It's a 3-point league.
Right, and they masquerade as a 3-point shooting team. They are not.
They're horrible.
Maxey, and there's another thing. Maxey is a great young star in this league, but he's a second fiddle. He's not a superstar.
I agree with you.
Who can lift the team through adversity.
No, he's tier B. He's a tier B star in the NBA.
Tier A
would be, Jokic, Embiid, Levine, Booker.
Right.
Maybe not even Levine. Maybe Levine's tier B too. But Curry,
Steph Curry.
Right.
Those kind of guys.
Yeah.
Are
Giannis.
Luka.
Tier A.
Yeah.
Maxey's tier B.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
Hield is tier C.
He's just not good enough of a player. And people need to start being honest with themselves about that. He's not a consistent enough player. I love him.
Nah, he has bad shooting nights. He has nights where he just can't shoot the ball.
I'm not hating on him at all. I love Maxey as a guy and as a player. But we have to start being real and honest with each other that he is not a good enough player. What we have seen the last few nights, and you can blame, well, he was sick, or blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. I don't want to hear excuses. If you're playing in the game and you're taking the ball, he jacks up way too many bad threes. He doesn't take them for a guy who's
he
fast.
shoots 38% from downtown. It's not horrible. He's
not horrible.
45% from the field, though.
It's kind of league average.
It is, but he's 45% 45% from the field. He's averaged almost 26 points. The problem just is consistency. His last 2 games have been horrendous.
I need to see him go to the rack more. I need to see it. AI was a good 3-point shooter, but you know what he did more than anything? He went to the rack. He put defenses on their heels. If you're not going to do that consistently, then it's just, I don't know what we're trying to do.
I mean, since the 51-point game, unfortunately, Maxey's shooting has kind of fell off a cliff.
Yeah, he's been terrible.
It goes back to one name, Joel Embiid. There's not as much space for these guys.
No.
He would draw 2-3 defenders. It's just the reality of spacing on the floor.
Right.
When you have a star like that, Maxey's numbers partially were inflated because Joel's on the floor.
And then I'm seeing another thread on Twitter or X or whatever where people are like, well, they should have traded Tobias. This was the time that you moved Tobias. Well, here's the problem with moving Tobias. You are stuck. Embiid is out, and you don't have enough guns. You don't have anything in your arsenal.
No, he's got to score more.
You need
Tobias.
Tobias.
Got to be a scorer now.
Yeah,
he's got to be the second scorer on the team.
A couple of these nights, Tobias had more points than Maxey.
He did.
And that is an indictment. I need Maxey in these games now to be the guy. And Tobias needs to be second fiddle. And by the way, now you got Buddy Hield. I need Buddy Hield to step up into a more significant role in the offense where Tobias can settle back into that third fiddle kind of guy. He's the third option. That's the way I need Tobias to be because Tobias has been good this year as a third option.
He's shooting 52% almost, man. I mean, the guy is shooting well. He's averaging 18 and 6. Just a touch under 4 assists. He only averages 0.3 assists less than Maxey. Maxey does not dish the ball enough.
Toby's been having a good year. And you're right. They need to get him the ball.
I'm sorry. Maxey actually had it backwards. Maxey 6.3 assists per game, and Toby 3.3 assists per game.
Toby's not a big assist guy.
No, he's not. I don't need him to be. No. I need him to score now because you're missing 30 points a game.
Even with those 6 assists, I'd like to see Maxey have 8 or 9 assists.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
He's a point guard.
He doesn't dish the ball enough.
James Harden averaged over 10 assists almost a game
last
year.
Let's not even talk about the Clippers, man. Wow.
Yeah, right. Wow. We were laughing, and now they are one of the best teams in basketball.
They are rolling 8-2 in their last 10. I mean, cruising.
They could win it all.
I could see, you know what? And it's funny. You know how it goes in sports? After so many years, the Clippers have never won anything. Teams that have never won anything, every now and then they win something. The Nuggets got theirs.
Yeah, but now the Nuggets aren't as potent, and the Lakers are not what they need to be.
I like the T-Wolves, man. I would love to see the T-Wolves go to the finals.
I
would love that.
You're looking at a year right now where Minnesota is the hottest team in the West.
Isn't that crazy, man?
Well,
Kevin Garnett loves it.
That tells me that the Clippers have as good a shot as anyone to win it all.
I agree with you because of the experience and the fact that they got 3 bona fide borderline Hall of Famers, really.
Right.
I mean, Harden's in the Hall of Fame.
The Super Bowl,
Kawhi's in the Hall of Fame.
Like in football, it's hard to predict, even when you get to week 13, week 14, it's hard to predict who's going to make it to the Super Bowl. But we're sitting here in February, and I can already say it's very realistic that it'll be Boston Clippers in the championship because the NBA works different.
I agree with you, but I'm gonna say that the Bucks actually figure it out in the playoffs, and I'm gonna go Bucks T-Wolves because I would love to see that.
Wow,
how great of a finals would that be, though?
Well, yeah, but it wouldn't be the ratings bonanza. I'll tell you that.
I mean in terms of just talent on the floor.
Well,
the T-Wolves are the number 1 scoring team in basketball. The Bucks have arguably the best combination of stars in basketball.
Minnesota has the top young player in the game, and Anthony Edwards. He's like the best young star in the game.
They're really fun to watch. They're really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Actually, ironically, they played Milwaukee last night. Tight game too.
The Sixers. It's going to be and next week we have Noah Levick joining us on the vet line.
What a great timing for Noah Levick to come back on NBC Sports Philly.
We'll really get to talk about what we see in Buddy Hield's debut and really, what it looks like.
He's
what it
debuting
looks like
tonight with the Hawks, right?
I don't know.
He better.
Well,
I mean,
a
flight from Indiana is.
I don't know how they can.
They're going to field a team.
I don't know what team they can put on the court.
I'm reminded of Vince Papali's situation.
They
need to get some ballers from North Philly down there.
Yeah, it's like a process night.
Go hit the Gray's Ferry playground.
Yeah.
It's right around the corner.
Exactly. Let me tell you, that's exactly
Pick up a playground
realistic.
legend.
You're going to see that Turk Smith, and you're going to see guys, Ricky Council. You're going to see those guys in the game. I mean, listen, it's going to be...
Hawks win by 10.
Yeah, the Hawks are definitely winning.
Actually, that's a good bet to put in.
There you go.
Because the Hawks are coming off 2 losses.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hate doing this. I mean, I'm making
I
myself
know.
sick. But the truth is, as a betting man, the Hawks are covering that 5 points. I hope I'm wrong.
Speaking of betting, we have a big show announcement coming up. We'll just leave it at that. We'll get to that in a little
we
while. Over the next few weeks, we will begin to pivot to spring training and the fighting Phils. It is inevitable. We have to do it because what we're seeing with the Sixers is going to push us in that direction.
And the Flyers aren't even worth speaking about.
Well, they're winning. They're not bad. But
I'm talking about
right
the
now,
Carter Hart stuff.
Yeah, the Carter Hart stuff is...
You lost
he's off the
the
team.
goalie of the future. A couple years ago, we got this 19-year-old guy, the goalie of the future, the next Patrick Waugh, the next Henrik Lundqvist.
Yeah,
and here he is.
I don't know that he's all that good,
Well,
but yes,
I mean, the expectations
he was
were
your
there,
franchise
though.
guy.
They
yes.
were the expectations. I remember very well on the radio, all the Flyers people. I was driving Lyft at the time. When I would pick people up at the center with their orange gear. Yo, we got Carter. We got Carter. This kid was fresh off of assaulting a teenager in Canada.
I know. And there goes my Carter Hart jersey hanging in the closet. It's going to be remaining there forever.
Is it next to your Aaron Hernandez?
I wish you know what? I'd rock that.
My homie has one.
I
He
would
rocks.
rock
and my
that.
homie looks like Aaron Hernandez. I'm not even joking around.
I would rock Aaron Hernandez's jersey. I would.
You know what I have on my monitor speaker in my home studio? I have, remember like when you do fantasy football drafts, they have like a board and there's stickers with the players?
Yeah.
I have an Aaron Hernandez sticker from a draft.
Oh, wow.
From before he got eliminated from
He
the league.
was a really good player.
He was, man. You saw that documentary?
It was a great, compelling documentary about that guy.
Yo, wow, man.
Very compelling.
But it made a lot of sense. Sometimes the ego aspect takes over guys in that scenario. And that's what happened with him.
Off topic, since we're music guys, just real quick, a must see if you haven't seen it. It's on Netflix, this documentary about the making of We Are the World.
You know what? I glossed over it on my Netflix scanning.
I forget what it's called, the greatest night in pop.
I saw it on there. Yeah.
Do yourself a favor and watch that.
Okay,
that
all right,
is
all
so
right.
fantastic.
I've been on
how
that
they
Making a
put that
Murderer
together.
thing with that dude.
Oh, really?
That dude that got like framed by cops and stuff.
Oh,
twice.
wow.
Yeah, like they hated him in his small town.
You know what? I got to give that a chance.
Yo,
Making a
man,
Murderer.
you'll be enamored.
Really?
Enamored.
All right, there it is, giving me ideas. All right, we got birds and Kellen Moore stuff to talk about, but first, brought to you by the Fairless Hills Academy of Music. It's time for Vet Fact.
This is a Vet Fact.
Well, Tek, as we know, in February and March, there were no games ever played really at the Vet.
No, we're going Vet Era Facts.
We're going Vet Era Facts. It's our February routine.
Yep.
And on that note, April 28th, 1991, the Phils pulled off the first triple play in Vet history.
Wow.
When Padres legend Tony Gwynn lined a shot to second baseman Randy Reddy. Reddy catches the ball, steps on second. We all remember this clip. And then he could have easily just tagged the runner, but he threw to first baseman Ricky Jordan.
Ricky Jordan!
For the third out.
Woo!
I loved Ricky Jordan when I was a kid,
Loved Ricky
man.
Jordan, loved Randy Reddy, Dickie Thon, that whole squad.
I know.
Was a loser squad that I loved.
I did too. Von Hayes was on this team. Dale
Yes.
Murphy was on this team.
Who was the manager? Was that Nick Leyva? Was he the manager?
It might have been a Leyva season, yeah. Charlie Hayes, Steve Lake.
Charlie Hayes!
Yo, man, wow. So the Phils would destroy San Diego on this day. It was early in the season.
Love
They
it.
would climb to just 7-12, but they would score 8 runs in the first 2 innings, go up 8-0. They would play shutout ball, shutting out the Padres to the 7th, where they got 2 measly runs. What a day. Lenny Dykstra with 2 walks, a hit, 2 runs scored. Dale Murphy with 2 ribbies. Charlie Hayes with 3 ribbies on a first inning shot over the left field wall. Dickie Thon goes yard. And he had a very nice pitching
Thon went
performance.
yard!
Very nice pitching performance by one Jason Grimsley, getting his first win of the year.
Grimsley.
Yeah, 7 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs,
He was pretty good.
7 Ks, and then Tommy Green
Yes.
would come in and lock down the 8th and the 9th, striking out 2, allowing no walks, no hits. The Phils didn't do much in 91, Tek, but on this day, they were the talk of SportsCenter.
There it
April
is.
28th, 1991.
That's fantastic. Anything with Charlie Hayes, Dickie Don, Randy Reddy, Von Hayes, those guys, Ricky Jordan. This is
what a
my era.
transitionary team. 2 years later, you're in Toronto watching Joe Carter walk it off.
Right, and this was actually before they switched to the throwback jerseys as the main jersey.
It was. This was still last Maroon season.
This was Maroon.
It was the last Maroon season.
How about that?
Man, oh man.
All right, the Birds. They hired Kellen Moore as their new OC. He's one of the two guys I didn't want. But but it is what it is. He's a pass-heavy guy who specializes in pre-snap motion and seemingly schemes receivers open.
They're under center more, too.
Yes.
I like that.
In Sirianni's press release, he said, "We feel that Kellen's skill set is compatible to our quarterback." And I guess my question is, how so? What example can you give me of quarterbacks that Kellen Moore has worked with where the skill set is compatible to Jalen Hurts? And you could say Dak, but it's not.
It's a little different with Dak. Yeah, it's a little different.
They're not the same.
Right.
And Herbert is a polar opposite.
He is.
So it's like, who?
Well, I think what they were getting at was Herbert improvises a lot. Jalen improvises a lot. I think that's what they were maybe going with, kind of like that gunslinger mentality. Jalen can get into that mode sometimes.
Or was it just, press release speak?
Well, it could have been that too. Could have been. Obviously, it's mostly that. My opinion on this hire Tek is it doesn't get me upset, but it also doesn't get me excited. It's kind of a middle of the road, and I'll tell you why. The first game next year, where they have to throw the ball, say 47 times.
This is what the guy does,
and they lose.
Yeah.
The Philly media and just our style in this city as fans.
They want.
Kellen Moore's not a fit for that.
No, he is not.
He looks like a deer in headlights type.
Look, he's been around 5 years. He's still a young guy.
He's never
35.
a good quarterback. Yeah, because he was never a good quarterback.
Right, and he was never good enough of an OC to get a head coaching job. So
but that's why they like him.
Right, that's why they like him.
You're
right about
that. And they like
that.
Fangio because he's too old to get a head coaching
right,
job.
Fangio's.
It's a great storm for the Jeff Lurie pyramid
and Lurie's
scheme.
letting both get. Look, you just know Lurie listens to WIP, right?
Oh,
and he goes into this meeting with Sirianni, and he's saying to Nick, I'm hearing Ross Tucker and Ray Dinger and Ike Reese say that we don't use pre-snap motion and we're not scheming receivers open and Jalen never lines up under center. What's going on there? I thought we were doing this stuff. You know what I mean? And Nick probably gave him one of those talk in circles answers. And Lurie was like, okay, well, look.
He was just talking about core values at that point.
Yes. And Lurie's like, look, that's all well and good. We're gonna go ahead and hand the offense off to a guy who does those things.
They got the problem, man. They got to run.
How it went.
You need an offensive coordinator that understands a simple concept. If you line up under center, it's only effective if you run it out of that formation as much as you throw it out of that formation.
Right.
When you line up under center. Because you want the linebackers to be thinking, all right, this ball's getting handed off. And then that play action with those stud receivers, it'll work. Because then the linebackers are biting. You can run slants, you can run goes, whatever. The safeties are going to bite. They're not going to accomplish that because they're not going to run it enough.
Right. They're not. That's not what Kellen Moore does.
No. But the blitz pickup will be way better with him.
Right.
The blitz pickup will be there. I mean, as far as options for a quarterback, Dak always had someone 3 yards away from him.
Right.
Always.
Right. Always. They liked Kingsbury, who was the other guy I didn't want. I wanted him even less than I wanted Kellen Moore.
Same.
But the deal breaker was, the rumor is, he wanted to hire his own staff, including his own O-line coach. That he was out. Kingsbury was out.
Kingsbury had the nerve to say Stout got to go.
Well, he wanted his own staff. He wanted to bring in his own people, and word is, or at least the rumor, it may not even be true, but the rumor is that he had his own staff in mind, including O-line coach.
You know why I don't like Kingsbury? It's because of that Hard Knock season. I just didn't think that he didn't strike me as a leader. No. He strikes me as a really good assistant coach.
Which he may be, which is why he might have been a good offensive coordinator, but just not here. I didn't want him.
He's another guy that would get eaten up by Philadelphia. He's just not fit for Philly. It's hard to explain why I mean that. It's like a feeling, you know?
Right.
I don't think Kellen Moore's fit for this city either.
No, but you know who I think is, and he's jobless right now? Eric Bieniemy.
Man, I would love.
How does he have no job?
I would love to see him on our sideline, man. I just don't get it.
Brian Johnson got hired by the Commanders. He's over there now as some
that.
kind of passing game
I saw that.
coordinator.
Yeah, you know what? Hey, I wish them the best. The Commanders are going to fall on their
But
face
it lets
again.
you know
they're not going to do anything.
That the perspective is that it wasn't his fault. Yet he's the one.
He's a young guy. These guys always get second
But
chances.
here's what I don't understand. Sirianni, the press is throwing bullets at Sirianni about Brian Johnson, and Sirianni goes, "It's not on Brian Johnson. It's on me. Blame me." But then Brian Johnson is the one that's fired.
Yeah,
I mean, we didn't want Brian Johnson anyway. But I'm just saying that you are saying, don't talk about Brian Johnson. Talk to me. I'm the guy. Well,
Right.
But he was fired. And you remain.
It's play design, man.
And then they strip him of all his power. They took the offense from him. They give it to Kellen Moore.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, Nick is a perplexing situation.
Yeah.
He's just a perplexing individual because, you want to like him.
Mm-hmm.
You want to like him, and I think that he's a good coach. I don't think he's a bad head coach. I think he's a good coach. I think the players like him. Jason Kelsey had nothing but great things to say. Kelsey always is the company man, I know, but he had great things to say about him last week.
Yeah,
and it was genuine.
But he is the company man.
He's the company man. But the problem with Nick is that he lacks killer instinct.
Yeah, I agree.
As a person, I feel like he just kind of lacks killer
He's soft.
instinct.
Yeah.
You need killer instinct here. Think like Jim Johnson.
Right.
That's defensive, obviously, but just the mindset. Even Andy Reid had a killer instinct in terms of going
true.
after it. That's why we went to 4 straight title games.
So I wanted to go over this with you, because I feel like this is not being talked about enough, and it needs to be. We're going into a draft that is, and I know that this has been said a lot over the past 5 years, but I mean it this year. This is going to be Howie's most important draft of his career, okay?
It is, because you still don't know what Dean and Smith are.
Right. He's going to have to hit on the key positions. And I predict, by the way, that he goes defensive end, offensive guard with the first 2 picks.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. It's going to piss a lot of people off.
Well, I don't think offensive guard necessarily will be the second pick.
I'm telling you, he's going to go D-line, O-line, first and second.
I think he goes secondary in the second round.
Listen, this is why he's got to hit on a corner. Let me break this down, right? They have $20 million to spend currently, right? $20 million.
Right.
Now, from what my understanding of the Son Reddick situation is, if this is a big if you can extend him at his current base salary, he's going to want a raise, by the way. But if you can extend him at his current base salary, what that means is when you extend him, you're basically paying him what he's owed and extending the contract out for more years later. So basically, when you're paying him what he's owed, you're clearing that money off of your cap. Right. So if you extend Reddick at his base salary, you'll save over $11 million. If they do the same thing with Josh Sweat at his base salary, they'll save $3.5 million. If they restructure Lane Johnson, who said he's down to restructure every year, if it means it helps
he
the
wants
team.
to win. So
they would save another close to 3.5 to be about $3.46 million.
Okay, so they could add maybe $18 million to the cap space.
If they cut Avonte Maddox, that gives you another $20 million. So you got 20 and 20. You now open up $40 million to spend.
They're not walking away from Avonte, though, I don't think.
I think they have to.
They might.
I think you have to.
It depends on the draft, though.
Well, you need a cornerback, right? But the market value on the free agent class of corners, and there's going to be some good ones available, but the problem is their market value is going to be sky high.
Yeah.
You're going to overpay. The Eagles can't afford to overpay for the corner. You're going to have to draft and hit on that position.
They have to.
You're going to have to.
James Bradbury is a conundrum. The guy goes from first team All-Pro to basically collegiate Division II undrafted in terms of his performance.
If they keep him, you would hope that they would restructure his contract.
He's signed for 2 more years, I believe.
Yeah, he is.
And that's a pretty big cap hit, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Yes. So, all right.
I would cut Bradbury is who I would cut. I don't know how that affects the cap, but I would cut him.
It's going to affect the... Now you're cutting into
well, you know
some
what?
of that $40 million.
You might not have to cut him. You might be able to trade him.
Well,
I think you can trade Bradbury still.
Well, let's talk about some of these positions that you're going to need in free agency.
Safety.
Right? So you need a safety. The market value.
I feel like we always need a safety every year since Dawkins left.
Yeah, of course. Well, really since Malcolm Jenkins retired now, because we were stable there. Him and McLeod.
Okay,
we won a Super Bowl.
You're right. We had 1 year, as I'll say, 2 years since Dawkins retired.
Right.
Or left with stability.
Yes.
At that position.
So now you're looking at a decent safety that can start for you. You're looking at about $6.5 million is the market value for a decent safety, right?
Yeah.
So now you need a linebacker. I got news for you. You need two. So the market value on a decent linebacker is around $8 million. Okay?
Yeah.
So if you're talking two of those, you're talking 16 plus 6. There you go. You're already at about $23 million out of your 40. Right? So now, you know what they always do. You probably need to pick up a DT. They cost around 10.
I thought Milton Williams showed me a lot last season.
Yeah.
I think Milton Williams could be a starter.
But without Fletcher Cox, you really putting it all on Jordan Davis and Milton Williams? No, they're going to go. They're going to pick up another DT in free agency.
Well, yeah,
he always does.
But I think Milton Williams is a bit underrated by our fan base.
Yeah.
I think so.
But you're looking at somewhere between 9 and 10 million for DT.
Right.
And so now where are you at? Now, let's just say they do that. They might not do that. But you need a running back, right? But with Kellen Moore, they're not going to spend anything on it. Even though, if I told you, you could have DeAndre Swift and Derrick Henry in your backfield for under $12 million, that would actually be appealing.
Yeah, but you have the wrong coordinator for that.
That's just it.
It's
So
not
they're
right.
not
It's
going to
not
do
a right
that.
fit. You need a running back that is a pass-catching running back, but then you also still need a bruiser, too. They haven't had a bruiser, it feels like, since LeGarrette Blount.
Which Derrick Henry would fill that role. He's right.
Yeah, but they got the wrong coordinator. They should have brought in Bieniemy and Henry and play some football.
Right. I think he averaged, in Derrick Henry's heyday, what did he average?
Somewhere 5 yards a carry.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the number of carries in a season.
Yeah, a lot.
In a season, it was somewhere, I guess, between 2.25 and 250.
Right.
240,
right.
Maybe carries wise. He's like 110 carry a season guy now.
Yeah.
He's half.
Yeah.
He's half of that load.
But it'll be fresher for that reason.
Absolutely.
But they're not going to get
only need
Derrick
to use
Henry
him
is not coming
6-7 carries a game.
No, yeah. I could see the Patriots getting a guy like Derrick Henry.
Yeah, right. It doesn't fit here. But so this is just to let you know that you talk about a few key positions you need, and next thing you know, you got like $16 million left to spend,
right?
And you still have to extend guys.
You still got to sign draft picks too.
You have to sign draft picks. You have to re-sign and extend guys like Landon Dickerson and Devontae Smith down the line. You are going to need money that you don't have.
What they should do, instead of signing all these guys that we're talking about, I would take a guy like a Grant Calcaterra, and maybe like a Bradbury or a Maddox, and I'd try to pawn him off to someone.
He's going to try to do that.
Then you're it's a give and take, and
you can trade Bradbury or somebody, but what are you getting? A 5 for him? You're getting like a 5.
I'm talking players though. I know that's not as common.
And he doesn't have. We don't have a 4. So we have a zillion 5s. We have no 4. So he's going to want a 4. How he's going to make a move for a 4?
Yeah,
it's going to be important in this draft. They have to hit. It all goes back to there's a lot to be done and not a whole lot of money to do it. So the draft becomes the most important draft for Howie in this era because he has to hit on these picks in these key positions, and I don't fully trust him.
If he takes a quarterback in the 3rd round, my head's going to explode.
I don't know what I'm going to. Yeah, like if he.
They worked one out, I think.
Spencer Rattler.
Yeah,
he was a former backup with Jalen Hurts. He was Jalen Hurts' backup at Oklahoma.
That's right. Well, that's actually a cool idea.
Yes, but listen, I don't anticipate needing that.
I think they should just sign Carson as the backup.
Yeah.
Oh
my God!
I had to slip that in there.
like the kid who was the Tanner McKee.
You liked him?
I liked him.
He had a good preseason, actually.
Yeah.
He actually was slinging the ball. He's still on the roster, right?
By the way, I know he turned the ball over. I didn't hate Mariota. He wasn't the worst, but obviously he's gone.
No.
But he wasn't the worst backup I ever saw.
The irony of him in the Eagles uniform after how it was when he was coming out is crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy.
But, that's where we're at with the Birds.
And
really, to be honest, until either a major nugget comes out from whether they sign somebody or they release somebody or they trade for somebody, it's like we don't really need to talk about the Birds again until we're ramping up for the draft.
Yeah, we're gonna be we're turning the Birds off now.
Yeah,
unless
a major move happens.
Free agency is before the draft,
right? So I guess
about a month.
So we'll
revisit the Birds in a month.
We'll revisit the Birds when free agency begins.
I think actually the free agency deadline is almost exactly a month.
Right. So
we'll see.
We'll revisit when that begins.
I'm sorry, the start of it, not the deadline.
Right. When they start free agency and we rev up to the draft, we'll start really going over the prospects that make sense and keying in, because right now it's just all too broad, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
as we
always.
get closer to it.
As always.
But all right. Major show announcement here. Look, we're music producers talking Philly sports. And when you're a music producer that talks sports, you got to have rhythm.
If you're betting on sports tech, you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm makes it easy to find AI-backed picks. AI-backed picks! Woo! And player props for every single NFL, NBA, and college basketball game. You can build custom sports betting models or have AI build them for you and start getting recommended bets, score predictions, and more that will help you become a better bettor. You download Rhythm now. It's right there in the App Store or the Marketplace. You can start getting free picks daily. Rhythm, the place for data-backed props and picks. Now a show partner, Tech.
Now a show partner. They will be the sponsor of Prem's Picks going forward.
That's right. Returning for the 2024 MLB season. Shout out to their marketing chief officer, James Santori.
Yes, sir.
We'll have him on at some point. And I will have to add that I already have hit on a pick that I got off the Rhythm app.
There you go. And you can too. So make sure you download the Rhythm app.
And that's RITHMM.
I love the spelling, and I love the fact that we're music guys, and our partner is Rhythm.
It's phenomenal.
It's phenomenal.
It's a beautiful thing, and we're thankful for all of our partners, but this is a really dope one because, betting is a huge industry now, Tech.
Oh, it is. It's taking over sports, to be honest. It's taking over.
There's a double-edged sword, but we're happy to have a role.
Oh, yeah. There it is. Everybody tune in to Fox 29's fantastic sports show tonight to see Prem. He'll be on.
That's right. Absolutely.
He'll be on set with Jason Martinez and Breland Moore.
It's actually going to be Jason's off.
Jason's
off. It's going
to
be sports director Tom Shredenshek.
Oh, wow.
And
filling
Breland.
in.
And Breland.
And Breland. So Breland will be the
she'll be on the left side. You have to send something in too, so I can disagree with you.
Yeah. I'll send. We'll figure out whatever the topic is. We
Absolutely.
usually know that.
Absolutely.
Sometime today, I'll get the topic and I'll send a video
Definitely.
in. But yeah, if you guys are at home and you got nothing going on tonight, Fox 29, fantastic sports show.
11:30 p.m.
There it is. All right. We'll have Noah Levick on the vet line to talk Sixers. We can talk about Buddy Hield's debut. Mm-hmm. We will see you next week.
Vet Alumni.